When the Bible speaks of great figures in biblical history, the most remembered names are usually the most visible ones. Yet there is a man whose influence was silent, deep, and decisive, and who rarely receives the recognition he deserves: Barnabas. Interestingly, without him, many central stories might not have unfolded the same way, and that alone raises a provocative question. Are we admiring the right people? Barnabas was not known for spectacular miracles or lengthy speeches, but for something even rarer: character, vision, and a heart aligned with God. The Bible shows that he became a bridge where there was distance, encouragement where there was rejection, and perseverance when recognition faded. In biblical history, he proves that God works powerfully through people who are not competing for the spotlight. Perhaps the most counterintuitive thing about Barnabas is this: he did not seek prominence, yet he changed destinies. While many wanted to be seen, he chose to serve. While others gave up on people, he believed in them. The Bible reveals that this kind of posture creates an impact that time cannot erase. And it directly challenges the modern logic of success, visibility, and validation. This series is not just about learning facts from biblical history, but about allowing the example of Barnabas to reveal practical paths toward a deeper, more mature, and more coherent faith. Throughout these lessons, it becomes clear that following God is not about being the most visible, but about being faithful. Not about applause, but about communion. If you sense that there is more to the Christian life than what is superficial, if you desire a faith that transforms the heart and everyday decisions, then this content is for you. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and walk with us through these lessons drawn from the Bible and biblical history. And now, here is the invitation. Get ready to see Barnabas not just as a biblical character, but as a surprisingly relevant model for anyone who truly wants to live with God. The Bible presents Barnabas as someone whose character speaks even before his words. In biblical history, he does not appear as a great orator or an immediately prominent charismatic leader, but as a solid, trustworthy man, deeply consistent in who he is. His example teaches that character is not built in public moments, but in the silent choices of everyday life. It is in this invisible ground that lives are truly built. The first lesson we learn from Barnabas is the value of a generous heart, willing to serve without seeking recognition. The Bible records that he sells a field and gives the proceeds to help the community, without long speeches or self-promotion. In biblical history, this attitude reveals that true generosity is born from conviction, not from the need for applause. Serving here is an expression of identity, not a strategy. This lesson challenges a common mindset: helping only when there is visible return. Barnabas shows that serving is an inner commitment. The Bible does not emphasize how much he gave, but the heart with which he gave. This broadens the understanding of generosity, which goes beyond money and reaches time, attention, willingness, and presence. Small actions, done consistently, create great impact. In biblical history, people with this kind of heart become support points for many. Barnabas does not place himself at the center, but as support. The Bible teaches, through him, that those who serve well sustain others without needing to appear. It is a kind of silent strength that does not draw attention, yet transforms entire environments around it. The second lesson we learn from Barnabas is the importance of living a practical faith consistent between words and actions. The Bible makes it clear that his faith was not only declared, but demonstrated. In biblical history, he acts according to what he believes, showing that mature faith is expressed through concrete decisions, not merely inspiring speeches. This coherence between what is said and what is lived is one of the pillars of a character that builds. Barnabas did not defend values he did not practice. The Bible presents him as someone whose life validated his message. This teaches that spiritual authority does not come from position, but from integrity, and that words gain weight when they are sustained by consistent actions. In biblical history, faith that does not translate into practice quickly loses credibility. Barnabas demonstrates that living what one believes generates trust and natural influence. The Bible shows that people like this become references, not because they impose respect, but because they inspire security. Consistency builds bridges where speeches alone cannot reach. This type of practical faith requires constant vigilance. Barnabas did not separate spiritual life from daily life. The Bible presents his story as a reminder that character is not something that turns on and off depending on the environment. In biblical history, true faith manifests itself both in great decisions and in simple, everyday attitudes. A character that builds is born when generosity and consistency walk together. Barnabas reveals that serving without seeking recognition and living a practical faith are inseparable foundations. The Bible suggests that this kind of posture prepares the heart for something greater, something that involves wounded, discredited people who are waiting for someone willing to see beyond appearances. And it is precisely this solid character that opens space for a new movement in biblical history, where encouragement becomes a tool of restoration, and Barnabas begins to play an even deeper role in the lives of others. The Bible presents Barnabas as someone who sees people where others see problems. In biblical history, he stands out not through public confrontations, but through his ability to lift those who have been discredited. His role reveals that encouragement is not about ignoring failures, but about recognizing possibilities. In a context where many were discarded, Barnabas chose restoration. The first lesson we learn from Barnabas is that encouragement has the power to restore wounded and discredited people. The Bible shows that when others hesitated, he drew near. In biblical history, encouragement does not appear as empty motivational speech, but as concrete action that restores dignity. The right word, at the right time, can redefine entire trajectories. Encouragement requires spiritual sensitivity and emotional maturity. Barnabas does not minimize mistakes, but he also does not imprison people in their past. The Bible reveals that he understood failures do not cancel callings. In biblical history, restoring someone begins when space is given for a new beginning, without labels and without permanent condemnation. This kind of encouragement creates safe environments. Barnabas builds bridges where there were walls. The Bible shows that restored people not only rise again, but begin to contribute with renewed strength. In biblical history, healthy encouragement does not create dependency, but autonomy and responsibility. The second lesson we learn from Barnabas is the need to believe in the potential of others, even when few believe. The Bible highlights that he was able to see beyond reputation, history, and the opinions of others. In biblical history, believing in someone's potential is an act of courage because it involves risk and responsibility. Believing in potential does not mean naivety, but discernment. Barnabas does not act on emotional impulse, but on spiritual conviction. The Bible shows that he invests in people because he sees in them what is still in formation. In biblical history, great transformations begin when someone decides not to give up too soon. This visionary perspective makes Barnabas a catalyst for growth. The Bible teaches that leaders who believe in the potential of others create spaces for development. In biblical history, those who receive trust tend to mature more quickly because they understand that someone chose to invest, even without visible guarantees. The posture of Barnabas confronts a culture of disposal. The Bible presents a model in which people are not defined by their worst moments. In biblical history, believing in another's potential is aligning with the way God works, through process, patience, and purpose. This type of encouragement also requires consistency. Barnabas does not believe today and abandon tomorrow. The Bible reveals that his confidence is expressed through presence and ongoing support. In biblical history, believing in someone's potential means walking alongside them through the process, including moments of tension and doubt. By restoring and believing, Barnabas prepares people to assume greater responsibilities. The Bible suggests that encouragement and vision are foundations for broader missions. And it is precisely this committed perspective that leads Barnabas to engage more deeply with a calling that demands faithfulness, adaptability, and courage in the face of the challenges that lie ahead. The Bible reveals that Barnabas did not view the mission as something convenient, but as an ongoing commitment. In biblical history, he understood that following a calling requires consistency, even when circumstances change. His journey shows that true purpose does not depend on favorable conditions, but on well-established convictions. The fifth lesson we learn from Barnabas is faithfulness to the calling, even in the face of challenges and change. The Bible presents moments when the mission becomes more complex, demanding difficult decisions. In biblical history, faithfulness does not mean the absence of conflict, but perseverance despite it. Barnabas remains steadfast when many retreat. This commitment is not passive, but active. Barnabas understands that a calling must be sustained daily by choices aligned with purpose. The Bible shows that he does not abandon the mission when obstacles arise, but adjusts the route without losing sight of the destination. In biblical history, faithfulness is synonymous with spiritual maturity. Change is part of the journey, and Barnabas does not interpret it as a sign of failure. The Bible reveals that advancing the mission requires adaptation. In biblical history, those who are faithful to the calling learn to navigate transitions without compromising values. The purpose remains, even when methods must change. The sixth lesson we learn from Barnabas is the willingness to go beyond the comfort zone for a greater purpose. The Bible shows that he does not limit himself to what is predictable or safe. In biblical history, fulfilling the mission requires leaving familiar environments and facing challenging realities. This willingness reveals courage and detachment. Barnabas does not cling to fixed positions or zones of stability. The Bible indicates that he is always ready to move forward when the mission demands it. In biblical history, stepping outside the comfort zone is not recklessness, but conscious obedience. Going beyond comfort also means accepting emotional and relational discomforts. Barnabas understands that the mission involves people, and people bring complexity. The Bible shows that he does not shy away from these tensions. In biblical history, growth and discomfort walk together when the purpose is greater than personal interest. This commitment expands the reach of the mission. Barnabas does not live to preserve personal comfort, but to fulfill what was entrusted to him. The Bible teaches that those who are willing to move forward reap fruit that goes beyond the immediate. In biblical history, the impact of the mission always outweighs the initial sacrifice. Faithfulness and willingness to advance form an essential balance. Barnabas does not act out of impulse, nor out of complacency. The Bible presents a model of consistency, with movement. In biblical history, commitment to the mission requires both firmness and flexibility. This type of posture prepares the ground for deeper and more strategic relationships. By remaining faithful and available, Barnabas becomes someone capable of walking alongside others, guiding and forming new leaders. The Bible suggests that the mission is not fulfilled alone, and biblical history begins to reveal a new focus: relationships, mentorship, and investment in people. The Bible shows that Barnabas understood something essential in biblical history. The mission does not advance sustainably without healthy relationships. He does not walk in isolation, nor does he build his journey in an individualistic way. On the contrary, his actions reveal that spiritual growth and the expansion of purpose inevitably involve walking alongside other people. The seventh lesson we learn from Barnabas is the importance of walking together, discipling, and investing in the growth of other leaders. The Bible reveals that he does not retain knowledge nor centralize influence. In biblical history, discipling is not about control, but about empowerment. Barnabas understands that forming people is multiplying the mission. This investment in others requires time, patience, and long-term vision. Barnabas does not seek immediate results, but consistent processes. The Bible suggests that he accompanies, guides, and provides space for maturity. In biblical history, healthy leaders are not afraid to share responsibility because they know the purpose is greater than personal prominence. Walking together also implies accepting differences in pace and personality. Barnabas does not demand uniformity, but growth. The Bible shows that he respects individual processes without compromising collective values. In biblical history, effective mentorship balances direction and freedom, firmness and care. This model strengthens bonds and builds trust. Barnabas does not form dependent followers, but conscious leaders. The Bible teaches that those who invest in people expand the reach of the kingdom. In biblical history, Well-cultivated relationships become channels for the continuity of the mission. The eighth lesson we learn from Barnabas is knowing how to deal with disagreements without abandoning principles and values. The Bible does not hide the fact that conflicts arise, even among people committed to the same purpose. In biblical history, disagreements are not signs of failure, but of humanity and maturing character. Barnabas demonstrates that it is possible to disagree without breaking what is essential. The Bible reveals that he maintains firm convictions even when paths diverge. In biblical history, handling conflict in a healthy way requires discernment, respect, and clarity of values. This posture avoids both rigidity and excessive permissiveness. Barnabas does not compromise principles, but he also does not turn disagreements into personal battles. The Bible presents a rare balance, where truth is preserved without unnecessarily destroying relationships. In biblical history, maturity is revealed in the way tensions are handled. Knowing how to deal with disagreements also protects the mission from unnecessary ruptures. Barnabas understands that unity does not mean absolute agreement. The Bible suggests that the focus remains on the greater purpose. In biblical history, healthy relationships endure when values are clear and respect is maintained. By investing in people and dealing with conflicts maturely, Barnabas builds something that goes beyond immediate results. The Bible points out that this kind of posture prepares a quiet legacy that continues even when the spotlight fades. And it is precisely at this point that biblical history begins to reveal the power of perseverance and a legacy that endures. The Bible reveals that Barnabas remains faithful even when he is no longer at the center of attention. In biblical history, his journey shows that relevance is not tied to visibility, but to consistency. He continues serving, investing, and walking with the same commitment, regardless of external recognition. This kind of perseverance builds lasting foundations. The ninth lesson we learn from Barnabas is perseverance, even when one is not in the spotlight. The Bible shows that he does not abandon the mission when he is mentioned less frequently. In biblical history, persevering is not stubborn insistence, but remaining faithful to the purpose, even when the lights fade. This posture reveals maturity and inner security. Barnabas does not measure his value by exposure, but by ongoing impact. The Bible suggests that he understands the deepest work happens away from visibility. In biblical history, many of the greatest advances emerge behind the scenes, sustained by people who do not give up. Persevering without prominence requires humility and conviction. Barnabas does not compete for space, nor resent recognition. The Bible presents a model where consistency is worth more than momentary fame. In biblical history, those who remain faithful when no one is watching build something that endures. The 10th lesson we learn from Barnabas is that true legacy is forming people who continue the mission with faithfulness. The Bible shows that his impact does not end with his own actions. In biblical history, legacy is not what is accumulated, but what is multiplied through others. Barnabas invests in people with the awareness that the mission must continue beyond his presence. The Bible reveals that forming others is both a strategic and spiritual choice. In biblical history, leaders who think in terms of legacy do not centralize, but prepare successors committed to the same values. This kind of legacy does not depend on titles or public records. Barnabas builds continuity through relationships, example, and daily faithfulness. The biblical suggests that transformed lives are the greatest evidence of a well-built legacy. In biblical history, true impact crosses generations. Forming people requires patience and long-term vision. Barnabas understands that immediate results do not define lasting success. The Bible presents a path where silent investment produces consistent fruit. In biblical history, legacy is what remains when the work continues without the original leader present. Perseverance and legacy walk together. Barnabas remains faithful to the end because he knows the mission is greater than his own story. The biblical shows that those who live this way do not need to secure recognition because the fruit speaks for itself. In biblical history, this kind of life leaves deep marks. By persevering without prominence and forming others with faithfulness, Barnabas concludes his journey pointing to something greater than himself. The Bible suggests that this is the peak of the calling. when the mission remains strong even when the name is no longer in the spotlight, opening space for a final reflection on everything learned throughout this journey. When we look at the Bible and walk through the biblical history of Barnabas, it becomes clear that his greatest message is not found in powerful speeches, but in a life aligned with God. He reminds us that walking with the Lord is not about prominence, position, or recognition, but about communion, faithfulness, and a heart continually aligned with God's will. Barnabas lived in such a way that his very journey became a quiet invitation to turn one's heart back to God. The story of Barnabas confronts haste, ego, and superficiality. It calls us to slow down and reassess our priorities. The Bible shows that a life of communion with God is built in the ordinary through simple choices, perseverance when no one is watching, and a willingness to serve without applause. In biblical history, true communion produces fruit that remains. Turning the heart back to God is, above all, a return to the essence of faith. Barnabas teaches us that intimacy with God produces character, and character sustains the mission. The Bible reveals that when communion is a priority, decisions become clearer, relationships healthier, and purpose more secure. It is not about perfection, but about consistency before the Lord. Perhaps the most important question, after reflecting on the life of Barnabas, is this: how is your communion with God today? Biblical history was not recorded merely for information, but for transformation. Each lesson learned points to a practical invitation: realign the heart, renew faith, and walk daily with God in a sincere and committed way. If this content spoke to you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and continue learning with us through the Bible and biblical history, pursuing a faith that is living, deep, and applicable. And now, share in the comments. Which lesson from Barnabas inspires or impresses you the most? Your reflection may encourage others as well.